All right, so I think we're recording here. I want to do a quick review here on this carnivore cut, and I got my notebook out again, which if you haven't seen the other video where I started describing some of these lines, I'd recommend starting there. I'm going to start with a quick review here, uh, going over it. But if you haven't seen it, this will make a lot more sense if you read the guide, the PDF. It's not that long, and then the other video might be two videos. If you check those out first, this will make a lot more sense. But I'm just going to dive on in. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the carnivore cut that I have been doing for myself, how I'm structuring it, and why I'm doing it this way. So, anyways, I harped on a lot in the last video as well as the PDF on part one. And that's where 99% of people need to focus. And it's where most people don't want to focus. They want to skip straight to part two. I'm not going to harp on it that long here, but part one is all about basically getting healthy, eating, building up, recovering your metabolism so that when it comes to fat loss, it comes a whole lot easier, okay? So, that's a very quick review of part one. Let me show you my results of part one. So going into part one, let me just show you this picture. November through March, up until March, I gradually increased how much I was eating every day. So in November, I was around 3 pounds of, medium fatty red meat a day on average, okay, ballparking. And November, I increased that. December, I increased that. January, I increased that. February, I increased that. It was basically 5 months of increasing it, eating beyond appetite, so to speak. Even though I can eat a lot. So it wasn't uncomfortable for me or anything like that, but I was eating beyond appetite. To put on some muscle mass to even boost my metabolism even more. I was doing no cardio. And I will show you what I looked like. Anyways, let's just do it. Let's see. I don't have an easy way of doing this. I pulled it up. So let me see if I can get this in the picture. So this is where I got to after 5 months of eating beyond appetite. And I definitely hold my weight in the lower abs like a lot of men tend to do. So yes, I put on some body fat for sure. And I wasn't afraid of that. And that's what I am always telling people. I'm like, look, you may put on some body fat in this step one phase. A lot of people actually don't, but you might. But here's the thing. If you're doing it right and you're eating right, it comes off very fast. So this is 30 days later. And I don't know if it looks significant to you, but like I can look at it, I'm like, man, that is a lot of fat loss. And interestingly, when I look at this first picture, I can tell you, I felt like, man, I kind of feel like I have a lot of fat to lose. But really, it's not that much. The scale difference here is less than 5 pounds. But you can tell like my face looks leaner too. But I can definitely see it like in the lower abs. I'm going to explain more about this. This is just the other day. So this is roughly 6 weeks into it. And it looks similar to here. For me, when I look at myself, I can always tell like I look definitely more fuller in this picture. And I'll tell you why. So let's go through that. I want to show you these before I kind of explained how to go from one to the next to the next. But anyway, so this first picture was after 5 or 6 months of continually progressively increasing the amount I was eating and not doing any cardio. And then once on April 1st, I started doing a 30-day carnivore cut. And what I did was I'm going to go and turn this around because it's getting awkward. But when I started the 30-day cut, I basically cut how much I was eating and started gradually increasing cardio over that month. And for most people, depending on how much fat you need to lose, I usually recommend slowly decreasing how much you eat over time and then slowly increasing how much cardio you do over time with intermittent fat cycling, meaning that every 3-4 days you have a higher fat day where you kind of refeed, so to speak, eating closer to your baseline amount versus the lesser amount. Okay. And when I said eating less, I should have mentioned I also ate leaner, eat leaner, less and leaner with progressively increasing the cardio. So let's review that. When I started the 30-day cut, I started progressively eating a little bit less. So I was eating roughly, I think, 5 pounds of meat a day towards the end of the bulk, quote unquote bulk. I cut that down to roughly 2.5, 3 pounds, which is a pretty substantial cut. And gradually I started making those cuts leaner and leaner. So I would be at, like, let's say 2.5 pounds of meat a day of fatty meat. Then I went, I gradually made it leaner and leaner and leaner. It's something that works for me that might be worth trying. My leanest meal is always at night. My fattiest meal is always in the morning. Helps keep me satiated through the day, feeling good, and I work out in the evening, and I like to have that real high protein, leaner meal after my workouts. I'm going to talk more about workouts here in a second. So this is all in the 30 days. I hope that makes sense. I ate a little bit less than I was eating. I ate a little bit leaner, and I did cardio, and those were progressive. And for most people, like I was saying, I recommend doing this slowly, meaning slowly increasing cardio, slowly eating less, and slowly eating a little bit leaner over time. But if I look at this picture again, it may look like I have a lot of fat to lose, but really in reality, it's not that much fat to lose. So you can be a little bit more aggressive if you don't have a super amount of fat to lose. So I was a little bit more aggressive. I ramped up cardio a little faster. I decreased how much I was eating, and I ate leaner faster than I would usually recommend most people. But the reason being was, and I'll tell you here. So I basically did that for 30 days and got here. I lost, we'll call it 5 pounds, but it's mostly fat, which is really the crucial thing here. Is when you're losing weight, you want to be losing just fat. You don't want to be losing muscle mass. Losing some muscle mass when you get super lean is almost inevitable, but the goal is you want to minimize that to the absolute minimum. I'm going to talk about that here towards the end when I start talking about quote unquote skinny fat. A lot of times people go on a diet. What happens is they eat less, they'll do cardio, and they end up just a skinnier, chubby version of what they were. A lot of times their body fat percentage is even higher than it was, and I'll tell you how to avoid doing that. So anyways, what have I been doing since? So after the 30 days, I was already decently lean, like pretty happy with what I was doing. But what I've been doing since is what I call a reverse diet. So let me pull this thing out. Let's see if we can see this. So November through March, you can see that arrow going up, right? That's me gradually increasing my food consumption over time. And then April, you can see that dramatic drop off. And I know you're seeing a reverse image, but I think you can see what I'm talking about. That April right there, where it dips off. And then March, I started to slowly increase that over time. And then you see a big spike. And I want to explain that spike real quick. But I'm going to continue with the reverse diet before I talk about that spike. So right now, where that dot is, I'm at that dot right now. But I'm going to go back down and continue my reverse diet, which is basically meaning over March. My computer just shut down. Sorry. Over March. I'm sorry. Yeah. No. April. Over May. Gosh, losing it. Over May, June, July, I'm going to gradually be eating more and more over time. And I'm going to be doing less and less cardio over time and eating a little bit fattier over time. And so I'm basically going to do that for the next several weeks. And what will actually happen is, as you can see in that third picture, which my computer just shut down, so I don't need to pull it up again. You saw it. My muscles were a little bit more full. And that tends to happen with the reverse diet when you're eating more and more and more slowly over time. But the thing is, I'm still in what I'll call an energetic deficit, meaning I'm still losing fat during this reverse diet. And I probably will continue losing fat up until close to August. So if I was to guess, my best body composition will be late July, early August. Because as I'm doing this reverse diet, I'm still under that baseline. I'll still be losing fat just at a slower rate than I was in April. And when you start getting lean, that slower rate is what you want. If you when you get really lean and then you try and do like a fast rate of fat loss, that's when you start losing muscle, and you don't want to do that. And so hopefully that makes sense. Now I'm going to explain that little spike that I'm doing right here in May. So in April, my calories were low, my food intake was low, my cardio was high, and I started gradually increasing it this month. And last week, I could tell like I started to get pretty lean, and last week I was feeling my energy was a little bit low, my sleep was impaired a little bit, wasn't sleeping as much, and libido, dropping down. And these are very common things when you start getting really lean. But something I did was, and I recommend people do, and this is intuition from doing this for a long time. But what I did for the past week was I took a day off the gym. I basically went back to my baseline eating, where I was eating basically 3 pounds of fatty meat every day, lifting weights heavy in the gym, but I did take a day off trying to get sleep. And what I'm basically doing is, I'll call it resetting a certain amount, because my hormones started going down. Like, they're doing what's natural. Like when you start getting super lean, the body wants to conserve fat. And so having a whole week of where I'm eating basically a higher amount of food, a higher calorie. I dropped the cardio this week and I did heavy weights. These are all things to basically get my hormones back to where I wanted them. And after a week, I'm feeling great again. So I'll go back to doing the reverse diet. But I bring this up just because this is a pretty common thing when you start getting lean. And there's two things. One is to know that some of this is common and inevitable. But the way to combat it is fat cycling, which usually I would just do, one day every 3 or 4 days, where you increase fat, calories, whatnot. But sometimes for me, it was roughly 5-6 weeks. I was like, my body needs a little bit more of an extended break. So that's when I basically hit reset, stop doing the cardio for a week, just lift heavy in the gym, increase food back up, increase fat consumption. And basically I'm feeling great again, sleeping great, and everything's back to where it was. And so for me, I use intuition. It's like, I'll probably go back to reverse diet, and I may never hit like a slog like that again. Some minor variations of that are common, and I'll keep doing fat cycling throughout the reverse diet. But I wanted to mention that because I know some people, you'll experience that if you're getting really lean. And one thing, don't be shocked by that. And two, this is how you handle it. All right. What else do I want to talk about? So hopefully that reverse diet makes sense. The last thing I want to talk about is the skinny fat. So I bring this up because I often hear like, all right, I just want to lose weight, right? And so, okay, you're going to do that with just diet and a little bit of exercise. The problem is, yeah, you can lose some fat like that. But if you are not at least doing something to maintain your lean body mass through resistance training, your body's going to lose fat, and it's also going to lose muscle during this time. And that's really what you don't want to be losing muscle, because basically what you're going to do is, and what's very common, you become quote unquote skinny fat. You become a smaller version of your chubbier self than what you wanted to be. And so this is why resistance training is super important. So in my November through March graph, where I'm ramping up, I am not only ramping up food intake, but I'm doing resistance training throughout that whole time. I'm putting on as much lean body mass as I can. And the goal throughout the cut is to not lose any of that lean body mass, maintain that muscle. And the only way to do that is to keep the resistance training throughout this. So to get super lean without resistance training, I mean, it can be done, but most people, they're not going to get the results they want. So the point of bringing this up is that just resistance training should absolutely be a strong focus of a fat loss cut. Okay, even if you don't want to be a bodybuilder big or anything like that, maintaining the lean body mass you got from part one. If you don't know more about part one, I'm not going to harp on it here because I've harped on it enough. But the goal is you really want to do everything you can to maintain that. Okay. I think that makes sense. I hope some of that makes sense. I can recap real quick everything that I said. Part one is ramping up, getting healthy, boosting that metabolism. You do that by eating more and more over time. A lot of times people just need to eat to their appetite, just start eating. Don't even worry about the ramp. The ramp is more of an advanced bulking thing. So first eat to appetite for a long time. Then I think is a beneficial thing is, push that appetite a little bit, push the resistance training a little bit, put on as much lean body mass as you can. And then once you're at a place where your body fat was probably similar to that picture I showed you, where you're like, all right, I could lose some body fat. Then only after months of part one, months and months and months of part one, then you can do something like I did, where you do more of a drastic 30-day cut, where you drop your food intake, increase cardio slightly over time, eat a little bit leaner, keep the resistance training in there, and do fat cycling, where every 3-4 days you have a higher fat day, higher calorie day. And then after a month or 2 months of that, you just reverse diet. And that's gradually eating more and more and more over time, gradually eating a little bit fatter and fatter over time. And boost it, getting your resistance training back up there. And during that reverse diet, a lot of times, like the way I structured it, I do structure the reverse diet slowly. I just don't jump back up to baseline. So I'll keep losing fat for several weeks to a few months, and usually your body, your muscles fill out during that time. Your body fat keeps going down. You're feeling better and better, and everything. And that's where you get like your best body composition. So that's that. The one thing that I also want to mention is sometimes it's real necessary to take a week off, kind of like I was talking about. I didn't take a week off the gym. I took a day off the gym. Maybe you should take a few days off the gym if you're really feeling worn down and your sleep is bad and things like that. But if that does happen, what you should do is take a rest, do heavy weights in the gym, bring your food consumption back up, stop doing cardio for a week, just do heavy resistance training during that time, and basically recover. Let your body recover, and then you can continue on a reverse diet. Throughout the reverse diet, I do fat cycling throughout that time too. So that's just ways to combat any of those negative consequences of getting too lean. And the last thing is, like, getting lean like this is not like a healthy thing. Okay, so this is not something to be like, look, I want to get 5% body fat because I want to be healthy. Like this is like pure vanity thing. I'm not saying nothing wrong with that. Look, I'm doing it myself, and I just recognize it for what it is. And there's pitfalls, there's downfalls that come with it. Hopefully I shared some of the ways to help mitigate those pitfalls and to keep the fat loss going. And I think that's about it. Make sure not to get skinny fat, because a lot of times that's just, you're digging yourself into a hole. So keep the resistance training in there. And if you have any questions, leave a comment or something, see if I can help out. Thanks for watching, and look forward to seeing your results. Have a good one. Bye.